Hello. Welcome back to another episode of Uncanny Oddities. Now, some say time is a river, others say it's a prison. But what if it's something else entirely? What if time is a ritual? Tonight, we're going to unroll the calendar, not to count the days, but to decode the spells hidden within them. From ancient rites of reversal to simulation reset loops, we ask, are we celebrating holidays? Or are holidays celebrating us? So let's begin with the theory of the calendar as a weapon. What is a calendar exactly? Is it a tool? A measurement? Now, let me go a little bit deeper into these before I get a little too carried away. Is it a tool, such as, used to tell time, as the calendar? It's a tool used to help us remember what time of year it is and when certain holidays are and stuff like that? Or is it simply a measurement of time? Because as we cross each day in the calendar, we cross off another day that is past and get ready for the next new day. Or is it a spell book disguised as a planner? The Romans, they knew this. And so did the Babylonians. The calendars weren't just lists of dates, they were blueprints for power. Each holy day, or holiday, aligned with a moon, a sun, a harvest, or a sacrifice. They weren't celebrating birthdays, they were binding reality. Saturnalia, Baltane, Samhain. I always want to call it Samhain, but it's technically pronounced Samhain, even though that doesn't make any sense to an English brain, but English doesn't make any sense to begin with, so there's a bit of a conundrum there, anyways. And Lemuria. Yep, the originals. Now, ancient days that demanded blood, fire, masks, and silence. So ask yourself, if the calendar started with fire and sacrifice, when did it become fireworks and candy? Maybe it didn't. Maybe we just forgot what we were doing. And then we should talk about the festival that ate the god. Let me tell you a story. A long time ago, there was a holiday called the Feast of the Twisted King. It was held once every 88 years, only at night and only when two moons overlapped in shadow. On that night, masks were worn, but not just to hide, also to summon. The Twisted King was not human. Some say he was a god of reversal. Others say he was a virus within the simulation, a fragment of chaos that needed worship to stay alive. Kind of like the gods in American Gods. Remember, if you've seen the show or read the book, then you'll remember that in American Gods, they presented in that book, they presented the gods as real. However, the reason that we don't see gods very often anymore, or at all, is because we no longer believe in the gods, and they feed on belief. So they need more people to believe in them, and they will gain more power. At least according to Neil Gaiman in American Gods. But anyways, I digress. They say one year the revelers danced for too long. The masks stayed on far too late, and the Twisted King stayed behind. We call it Carnival now, or Carnival, depending on your region or dialect, I suppose. We throw beads, you know, it's kind of like Mardi Gras. But if you look closely during the parades, one of the masks never blinks, never breathes, and never leaves. So, the next thing we have for you tonight is Thanksgiving's forgotten debt. They say Thanksgiving is about gratitude. A peaceful meal, a table full of food. Okay? There's, but no one talks about the plate for the dead. There's an old Appalachian ritual passed down quietly, like trauma. Every year, families would set out an extra plate at the table for the stranger, as they said, not out of kindness, but out of necessity. Because once they forgot, and the next morning, half the town had vanished. No doors broken, no signs of struggle, just empty homes, and a chair still pulled out, as if someone had been sitting there. He comes to eat, and if there's no place for him, he takes a place for himself. He comes to, oh, sorry. And the next segment we have for you tonight is Zorro's Eve, the holiday that doesn't exist. Here's one I bet you haven't heard of, a holiday that isn't even real, or wasn't supposed to be. It's called Zero's Eve, a myth, a fragment, a slip. The story goes like this. Every New Year's Eve, we do the countdown like usual. 10, 9, 8, all the way. When we're told to shout, Happy New Year at 1, but we're never told what happens at 0. Some say that's when the world resets. Not just the year, but the code, the programming beneath the very lattice of reality. And then reality reboots, simulations branch, and if you miss the timing, if you celebrate just a second too late, you get moved. You wake up in a world that looks the same, but feels just slightly wrong. The Mandela effect. And they say those who celebrated Zero's Eve correctly once can never go back. And those who didn't have never noticed that they've already left. It would explain the Mandela effect, potentially. But this is just a fictional holiday which I created for entertainment value. Now, there are also the holidays that feed. Have you ever wondered why every single month has a holiday? Why we must celebrate something? January, New Year's; February, Valentine's; um, uh, March, St. Patrick's Day; April, Easter. You start to see the pattern. You know, war in July, gratitude in November, death in October, and a reset in January. Some say the holidays are placed to manage us, to regulate the collective emotion of the species. However, there are a few gaps in the calendar. Dead days, if you would. Days that don't really seem to match anything. That feel almost like you're out of sync. On those days, the simulation slips. That's when you see the patterns. The Eye of Ra, the 8, the 0, the snake eating itself, the Ouroboros, the clock that ticks backwards, like Alice in Wonderland, and the light that doesn't cast a shadow. And we all know what that light is, and we all know where it comes from. So, the next time you create a holiday or celebrate a holiday, because, admit it, we've all created a holiday here and there, haven't we? But next time, ask yourself, who started this ritual? And if it was you, why did you start this ritual? What was it meant to bind? And what happens if you just don't participate? The calendar may be a prison, but inside it, there are keys. This has been Uncanny Oddities. And if you feel deja vu after this episode, it's because you've already heard it in the last cycle, in the last universe, and on the last Zero's Eve, before you slipped into this universe. Until next time, watch the clock, watch the mirror, and never forget the holiday they erased.